Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Oh, we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be going over gravity in SDL3 using C++. That said, last stream and actually for the past 3 streams, I have been going over images in SDL3 using C++, and I feel like I did master it yesterday by automating images and moving images through my key controls. That's it. Today I'm going to be adding some gravity for honestly shapes. Okay, that said, let me go ahead and actually copy that real quick. Guys, I forgot to tell you guys on Discord that I'm live, because usually I do mention you guys on Discord. But guys, let me actually go to my gameplay screen real quick. There we go. Okay, now let's just pop up Discord, paste that there, and say something like, everyone, wait up guys, give me a sec. There we go. Be live, exclamation. Okay, perfect. That said, let me say something like, say. Okay, let's go with something like, let's say I'm live, exclamation. And guys, I'm honestly kind of excited for working with gravity, because I did do this in Pygame, but I feel it might be different in SDL3. That's it, hiding Sam. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, people, you're live, your viewers are watching. Do not embarrass yourself today. Do not embarrass your sensei today. Listen up, everyone in the stream. This fool is about to learn about gravity, not the schoolbook kind, the kind that makes your game feel like a world, not a static drawing held together with tape and copium. As I said, people, you showed up. That's more than most people could tell. Okay, all that said, let's begin with gravity. Gravity in games is just acceleration applied every frame. Your object has a position, a velocity, a vertical velocity, and gravity constantly increasing that velocity. Imagine pushing a snowball down a hill every frame. It goes faster. Let's set up the most basic gravity template. We'll use a PNG, a circle, a square, doesn't matter. Gravity cares about nothing. First, I'm giving you a simple object that falls. Don't read it yet, don't run it yet. I'll explain every line like I'm framing into your skull. Is that skull? There we go. Okay, that's set. So firstly, I needed a floating y-axis which is set to 100 pixels per frame. Object starts at this position. Okay, so that's my current y-axis. And then a y-axis velocity starts at 0. Okay, and a floating point. Gravity points say constant acceleration downwards. I think I do know what this means. It's because I did go over this a bit, whatchamacallit, in C++. I mean, using Pygames in Python. That said, we go with a while loop. So while is running, while my program is running, my y-axis underscore velocity increases by my gravity. Then y-axis underscore velocity, okay, moves the object. So basically, our speed increases by our acceleration, then our whatchamacallit. Actually, I think that's our acceleration that increases our, I think it's gravity, and then our actually, what up guys, my y-axis underscore velocity increases by my gravity, and my y-axis increases by my y-axis underscore velocity. I think I understood this part, I just can't explain it properly. That said, this is the entire heart of gravity, 2 lines, universal law, but I haven't explained collisions yet, which is where games actually come alive. But before we go deeper, people, I need to know, do you want to start gravity with a PNG, a rectangle, or a circle? Honestly, let's say something like, let's say, maybe with a circle, ... Let's go with something like with a circle. Okay, because honestly, I feel like circle might look much cooler. Okay, a circle is falling under gravity is pure, clean, fundamental game physics. Your stream is about to see the laws of nature bent to your code. Sit tight and pay attention. If you get distracted, I'm grabbing you by the collar and dragging you back to the code. Okay, so gravity plus circle SDL3 edition. So, first we do gotta add our circles as attributes. I didn't know this part because I did work on making shapes as well. That said, I go with a y-axis underscore velocity, which always starts at 0, and then a gravity. I'm gonna go with 0.5 honestly, because that's what I use in Python. That said, a floating point floor y-axis. Okay, so a floating point for floor. So this is a floor variable, simple ground level. Now, these are your circle physics stats. Now, inside your while is running loop, firstly, gravity accelerates the velocity. Okay, and then velocity moves the circle. Okay, circle y-axis increases by y-axis underscore velocity. Collision with floor. Okay, if circles is y-axis plus radius is greater than my floor, circles is y-axis is going to be equal to my floor minus my radius. I think I understand what this means honestly. Pull it on the ground, y-axis underscore velocity multiplies by negative 0.6, bounce with damping. Okay, I might not have the bounce logic just yet. That said, let me actually try writing it, because I did work on this in Python, so maybe I do have a good fundamental idea on how this works. That said, let me start off by deleting everything. And honestly guys, give me a sec. Let me actually on my fan real quick. I feel it's kind of hot here. Alright guys, give me a sec. Okay, maybe open the blinders too because it's kind of dark. Actually, it's not dark, it's just like morning. Okay, that's it. Now, let me start off by firstly including a pair of ankle braces. Let's go with something like include IO stream because I will be using IO stream. And then since I am going to be using SDL3, let's go ahead and include SDL3 as well. And what are these? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and include a pair of ankle braces again. Let's go with something like SDL3. And then I want to include SDL's header files as well. So I'll go with SDL.h. Okay, now after I'm done including SDL, I want to include like the image library or like the SDL's image section because I won't be using PNGs this time. That said, I'm going to go ahead and create a main function now. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses, and then a pair of curly braces. Now, my main function does require two parameters in it. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be something like an array of argv. Okay, and now let's go inside a main function. Now, once I'm in my main function, firstly, let's go ahead and initialize SDL and check if it was not initialized properly. To do that, I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses, let's say something like if not SDL underscore init basically initializes my SDL, and I want to initialize the video section of my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. Okay, and honestly, the video goes like right here. There we go. Okay, now if this was not initialized properly, because like the exclamation is like it does stand for not, then I'm gonna do something. Let's go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. Let's say I'm gonna give myself an SDL underscore init error, so I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, perfect. And then let's go with another insertion operator, and UC function actually gets me an error. So I could go with something like a SDL, let's say something like SDL underscore the get error function. This function is going to get me an error if something went wrong. And then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, and lastly, let's go ahead and return once something went wrong in this block of code. Now, after I'm done initializing my SDL, let's go ahead and add a few game variables. So I'm going to go with something like game variables. Okay, so what game variables might I need? I would need like a gravity, so let's go with a floating point variable for like gravity. Okay, so let's go with something like gravity, which is going to be set to something like 0.5 floating point, ending with a semicolon. And then I might need my circles as attributes as well, or properties. I might add that later. Before that, let me add my displays, a variable for my Windows's width and my Windows's height. To do that, I could go with something like a constant integer of my Windows's width, which I honestly want it to be 800 pixels per frame, maybe 1000 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like a constant integer of my Windows's vertical size, which is basically my height, which is going to be something like 800 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's honestly pretty much it. I might actually add a y-axis underscore velocity as well. So I could go with something like a floating point for something like y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be set to something like, I don't know, maybe let's go with something like, okay, 0, because like my player does start with like 0, or like my circle will start with like 0 velocity. And then later I'm going to increase that by my gravity. Okay, I honestly don't think that I might need an x-axis. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and create my window and my renderer. So I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. Okay, perfect. Now for my window and renderer, firstly, I'm going to be needing two local variables. The first local variable is going to be a standard Windows, a pointer to my standard Windows structure. I'm going to call it something like Windows. So this variable consists of all my Windows attributes. I'm going to set that equal to null PTR, which is basically a placeholder for a pointer ending with a semicolon. Then I'll do the same thing for my renderer local variable as well. So I'm going to go with asterisk or renderer, okay, which is going to be set to something like null PTR as well. That is basically a placeholder for pointers. Now that I'm done creating two variables, let's go ahead and actually use the function that does create my window and my renderer both at the same time. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore create window and renderer function. The function name is kind of big, but I'm trying to see how this actually makes sense. That said, once I'm done creating my window and renderer, let's go ahead and firstly fill in a few parameters. Let's see what parameters I need. I need a title parameter, my Windows's width, my Windows's height, a window flag, then later my local window variable, which was a pointer, and my renderer local variable, which is a pointer's memory address. So first let's go with something like a title. So title is basically like a caption for my window. I'll go with something like SDL3 window created. Guys, I honestly can't think like of a better title. Maybe I'll go with something like SDL3 gravity. I always go with SDL3 window created, but I might go with something different this time. and then I'm going to be needing a width and height, so I might go with something like my width variable, and then let's go with my height variable. And then now my fourth parameter is going to be a window flag. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could go with 0, but I want to add a flag that makes my window resizable, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. There we go. Okay, now the final two variable is going to be the memory address, so I'll go with an address of operator from my window and then an address of operator from my renderer local variable. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Alright, now that I'm done creating my function, let's go ahead and use a if statement to check if my window and renderer was actually created properly. In case I messed up something in this code, that's gonna like fix the error for me. Actually not fix the error, it's gonna let me know if I did something wrong. To do that, I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses, let's say something like if not window or not a renderer. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go with a row of curly braces, and then let's add a standard C edit. This is gonna give me an error. Okay, my edit is honestly gonna be my function name, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore create a window and renderer error. Guys, this edit is kind of big, but I feel it's much easier to like find where like which part did we get an edit in if we actually use our function name for the edit. Okay, then after adding an error, let's use the function actually gets me an error, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore get error function with a pair of parentheses, and then let's add another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window was not created properly or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to exit my SDL, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit. Okay, with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon, and lastly, let's return 1. Okay, now that I'm done creating my window and renderer and even checking if they were not created properly, let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like my circle properties. So I'm gonna go with something like my circle properties. Okay, for my circle properties, I am going to be needing a x-axis for my circle, so I'll go with circles as x-axis. This is going to be an integer of circle x, which is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 100. Okay, maybe I'll go with something like 500, which is basically the center of my screen, ending with a semicolon, and then I'll go with an integer of my circles as y-axis, which is going to be something like maybe 100. Okay, I'm assuming 100 is like at the top. Okay, and then I'm going to be needing a radius as well as basically how thick my circle is. So I'll go with something like an integer of radius. Okay, which is going to be equal to, I don't know, maybe something like 50. Okay, perfect. Now, after I'm done creating my circles as properties, let's go ahead and create my main function if I'm not missing anything that comes before it. Okay, so this is going to be my main loop. My bad, guys, if I said like main function is my main loop. Basically, inside this loop is going to be where I add gravities and all my game logic in. Although I will need two variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean variable of is running, which is going to be checking if my program is currently being running or not. And then I'm going to be adding an event variable as well, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore event. This is a structure that consists of all my events in my SDL. I'm going to be having a event local variable that now consists of all the structures of my event as well. Okay, and then let's go with a while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while is running, I'm going to be doing something. I'll go with a row of curly braces. Now, inside my while loop, I'm honestly going to add another while loop, which is going to be looking for any kind of events that I'm actually looking for. This is actually called an event loop. So now, for my event loop, I'm going to add another while loop. Okay, hiding a fam, is that your friend's your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, I'm going to go ahead and add a function inside of my nested or like my event loop. I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore poll event function. So there we go. What up, guys? I think I spelled it wrong. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, this does require the memory address of my event variable. This parameter by my sense, guys. Basically, what the SDL underscore poll event function does is it like looks for the current event that I'm actually looking for inside of my while loop, and if one of those events are actually met, that event is going to be executed. For example, I'm going to go with an if statement to look for an event type. So I'll go with something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, if my user click the top right X button, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. That ends my entire while loop because like my initial while loop is only going to be running while this is set to true. Okay, with that said, now let's go ahead and exit outside of my while loop and then let's do something. Okay, so I'm going to be firstly filling my screen with a color. So let's go with something like a comment that says something like fill screen. Now to fill my screen, I am going to be needing the renderer. Renderer is basically like a paintbrush. Okay, to set a color for my renderer, I could use the function that's called something like SDL underscore set render. I'm going to set my render to draw a color on my screen. Okay, and then I'm going to be needing a few parameters. Let's say I want my screen to be, let's say cyan color. So I'm going to go with, firstly, I'm going to be requiring my render parameter, the render variable that I created up there. And then I'm going to be needing a RGB value as well. So the RGB for cyan is 0, 248 and 255. And lastly, I'm going to be needing an alpha / opacity, how transparent or how not transparent my color is going to be. I'm going to go with 255 because I don't want my cyan to be transparent at all. Okay, why are we using double equal to sign? Honestly, we use like one equal to sign to like set something equal to something. We use two equal to signs to check if something is the same as something else. For example, like let's go with something like a integer variable of something like a. So let's go with something like an integer of a equals to 12. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like if a. So let's go with if a pair of parentheses. If a is equal to something like 12, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces. I'll go with something like null here. That is basically a placeholder. And my if statement does have a, red underline here because I'm not inside of my while loop. So this checks if a is actually equal to 12. If I went with 1 equal to, that would be kind of wrong because I'm setting my a to be equal to 12. If that made any sense, guys. Okay, that's said. Okay, single equal to is for assigning, yeah? Okay, I see. Alright, that's it. Now, after I'm done with setting a color for my renderer, I'm gonna go ahead and use the function that actually colors my entire window with the color that I added here. To do that, I could go with something like the SDL underscore render clear function. So this function, it clears / fills my entire screen with the with the color that I set here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now that my entire window is cyan, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like graphics. This is where I'm actually going to be drawing my circle. Now, firstly, to draw my circle, I gotta do a few things. I'm going to be using points because there isn't like a function that actually builds a circle for me. To do that, let's go with a for loop. So firstly, I'm going to go with something like for a pair of parentheses. Okay, before I go with for, if I just draw my circle right now, it is going to be cyan because like I have an initial cyan color set here. I want to change my color to be something like red. So I'm going to go with the SDL underscore set render draw color function again. So there we go. Okay. And now I'm going to be changing my color because like until we don't change our color, this color is like all my colors, whenever I do use my render, it is going to be cyan. Yo bro, you're enjoying? I can't wait for exams to be done so I can continue learning for these 3D games. Honestly, it sounds pretty cool. Good luck with your exams, Michael. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a few parameters. I'm going to go with something like render. And then let's go ahead and say my circle is going to be red color. So I'm going to go with something like 25500. That is like the RGB for red. And then my opacity is going to be 255 because I don't want my color to be transparent at all. Ending with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done with that, let's go ahead and add our for loop now to actually create my circle. So I'm going to be using an index-based for loop. Okay, so I'm going to go with something like for every integer of direction x, which equals to something like, let's say something like a negative radius. I'm going to end that with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and check something. So while my direction x is either less than or equal to my positive radius, I'm going to do something. Okay, let's go ahead and increment / add my direction x by 1. Okay, hey Vic, I'm the guy who told you I had C++ test. I did study but cheated with AI in exam. Huh. Oh, I see. Okay, that's next up, let me go ahead and add another for loop. So this is going to be like an index-based for loop. So I'm going to go with something like an integer of direction y, which equals to negative radius, ending with a semicolon. While my direction y is less than or equal to my positive radius, I'm going to go ahead and do something. Guys, there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and increment my direction y by 1. So I'm going to go with direction y plus plus. Okay, and now before I do create my circle one more time, I am going to be adding an if statement to like, add a formula for my circle. Okay, so I'm going to go with something like if, let's say something like my direction x squared. So I'll go with if direction x multiplied by direction x, that is basically direction x squared, plus direction y multiplied by direction y squared is either less than or equal to my radius squared, so radius multiplied by radius. I'm going to do something. I'll go with the pair of curly braces. And then let's say I'm going to be actually drawing my circle now. So I'm going to say something like SDL render point function. So I'm saying my render to like render a point, and after adding like all these for loops and if statements here, my point is going to be a circle. Okay, yeah, which country are you from, bro? Honestly, I used to like say that a lot, but like I did avoid saying my country these days. That's it. Next up, I'm going to be doing something. So what are parameters does my SDL render point require? It requires 3 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer variable. The second and third parameter is going to be a direction x and a direction y. My direction x is going to be something like my circles' x-axis plus my direction x, okay? And then I'm going to be adding a comma, going with my circles' y-axis plus my direction y, ending with a semicolon. Okay, did I create a circle y-axis? Alright guys, let me change that circle x to circle y. There we go, and that's pretty much it for like my circle. Now let's go ahead and exit my outer for loop and let's do something. Okay, I'm going to be presenting my render on my screen right now, because like if you don't present our render on our screen, it is like whatchamacallit. It's going to be like, we're just going to be seeing like black and white in our screen. Okay, and then let's go with something like a comment that says something like present. What are you doing? Honestly, I'm learning on how to I'm like mastering gravity in like SDL3 using C++. Last stream I did go over PNGs and images. That said, now after I'm done with whatchamacallit presenting, so to present, I forgot to tell this to you guys. I gotta go with something like the SDL underscore render present function. So I'm saying my render to like present itself. I think whatchamacallit had a typo. There we go, render present. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, this does require a render parameter ending with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done presenting my render on my screen, I am going to be adding a FPS, which is basically frames per second, or like my circle is going to move really quick, guys. Okay, desperate times needs desperate measures. That being said, I did try streaming, but my potato PC is making it barely running. Oh, I see. That actually sounds whatchamacallit. Okay, that's it. To like actually add FPS, I am gonna go with something like SDL underscore delay with a pair of parentheses. My SDL underscore delay function does require parameter in milliseconds, so I'm gonna go with something like 16 milliseconds, which is basically 60 frames per second. Now, after I'm done adding my FPS and like filling my screen with all these colors and everything, I'm gonna be adding my main loop. Actually, I'm gonna be doing some cleanup, so I'll go with something like cleanup. And guys, I know I didn't add like gravity yet, because like whatchamacallit, I am like going with the basic loop to check if my circle was actually created properly, and then I'm going to be adding gravity. Now for my cleanup, firstly let's go ahead and destroy my windows. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window with a pair of parentheses. Okay, this does require my window parameter. Did I spell something wrong? There we go, destroy window with a pair of parentheses. This does require my window parameter and ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to be destroying my render as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy renderer. Okay, this is going to be having my render parameter. Okay, I think I spelled render wrong. Okay, maybe I spelled destroy wrong, guys. I keep spelling destroy wrong. I'll go with something like destroy renderer with a pair of parentheses. This requires my render parameter, and then I'm going to go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done destroying both my window and renderer, let's go ahead and quit my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. What are you doing in SDL? Honestly, I'm learning about gravity in SDL. Okay, when have you started programming? Honestly, initially I did start programming about, I think it's been like 161 days when I first started my Python for 100 series. Although I've been like learning C++ for 57 days right now. Okay, lastly, let's go ahead and return 0 ending with a semicolon. Now, if I were to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so this should actually get a circle. What is this? Honestly, I'm learning on how to like add gravity in like C++. That's it, there we go. Okay, so that is my circle. Now I just need to add some gravity so it like falls down, and maybe a floor as well. Okay, now how do I be adding my gravity? Okay, so maybe after I'm done with my graphics, before I present my render on my screen, let's add gravity. What are you doing? Can you tell me? Honestly, I'm learning on how to like add gravity in like SDL3 using C++, because like I feel like eventually if I do like whatchamacallit, make my game which consists of AI logic, I might need gravity for it. What standard are you in? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. That's it. Meanwhile, AI doing all this in 5 seconds. Honestly, I feel like the stuff that I'm learning right now, that is like pretty easy for like AIs to like replicate. Although eventually when I do move on to more complex stuff, that would be kind of hard for AIs to actually write. Okay, so I'm going to go with something like add gravity. Maybe I'll go with gravity logic. Okay, so gravity logic. Okay, now for my gravity, firstly, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to be increasing my circles' y-axis, or my y-axis underscore velocity. let's say by my gravity variable ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to increase my circles' y-axis by my gravity. Actually, by my y-axis underscore velocity. So my y-axis increases by my gravity, which is 0.5, and my circles' y-axis increases by my y-axis underscore velocity, which is being pulled down by my gravity, if that made any sense, guys. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Now let's add a if statement for like landing. So I'm gonna add another comment that says something like landing. Okay, so now for my landing, firstly, I'm gonna add a if statement. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my circles' y-axis is either less than or equal to. I did not create a floor variable. Let's actually do that. Okay, you're doing 11th or diploma. Honestly, I am like what you may call it, a freshman in like college. That said, your age and qualification, guys. I feel like I am like 17. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon. I don't think I have any qualifications just yet because like I did like start college. I think it's been like about 2 to 3 months right now. Okay, can you speak normally? It is very hard to understand your accent. Honestly, guys, I feel like this is the only accent that I can actually speak fluently in. That said, I might actually talk a bit slower. Okay, now, after I'm done with whatchamacallit, okay, actually, let's add a floor variable. So I'll go with something like an integer of floor variable or something like floor underscore x-axis, which is going to be equal to, I don't know, maybe something like 400. Okay, instead of 400, where was my circles' x-axis? It was 500. So I'm going to be changing this to something like maybe 500. Doesn't make sense, guys. Okay, please watch Varanasi movie teaser, guys. I don't think whatchamacallit, we shouldn't do some promotions here. Okay, in which do you live? Honestly, I used to say where do I actually live, but I did avoid saying that. You a science student? Honestly, guys, I didn't start taking majors and anything. That's it. Eventually, I do wanna actually whatchamacallit, either be an AI engineer or a cybersecurity. Alright, guys, let's stop doing promotions here. Hold up, guys. Okay, let me go with something like that. Let's go with some like, I don't know, like 10 minutes timeout. Okay, that's it. I'm assuming to create my floor, I should create a rect. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore F rect. Maybe above this, I'm going to add a comment that says floor. Because guys, I know how to create a floor in Python. Okay, honestly, can you speak in Hindi? Honestly, I feel like I do know how to speak in Hindi a bit, but I'm not as fluent in like English. That's why I actually do talk in English here. Because like, I feel I wouldn't be able to elaborate myself properly, guys. Okay, Varanasi equals SSMB29 globe character. Huh. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore F rect. This is going to be called my floor. Now, I gotta add a few parameters for my floor. So my floor is going to be needing an x-axis, y-axis. So I'll go with something like floor dot x-axis equals to something like 500 ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like floor dot y-axis equals to something like 800 ending with a semicolon, and then let's go with something like floor dot width that is going to be equal to something like maybe I don't know, 1500. That covers my entire window. Okay, please slow down, your words are mixing. Even Americans don't speak like that. Guys, that does make sense. I should speak a bit slower. Okay, ask Google, get out and ask Google. Guys, I feel that would like whatchamacallit, ruin the point of me trying to figure it out myself. Actually, I do know how to do this because like when I did like learn Python, I did like learn how to add gravity logic, so I do know how this actually kind of works. My height is going to be something like, let's say 200 ending with a semicolon. Do you speak Tamil? Honestly, no, I actually never thought of learning it. Okay, which software use? Honestly, I am using Visual Studio. Okay, now let's go ahead and add my landing logic. So if my circles' y-axis is either less than or equal to, let's say something like my floors' x-axis, then I'm going to be doing something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces and then reset my circles' y-axis. Okay, I'll go with something like plus radius. Let's go with circles' y-axis plus radius. Okay, and then I'm going to go with circles' y-axis plus my radius is going to be set to be equal to my floors' y-axis, ending with a semicolon. Okay, I'm pretty sure this should be correct, right? Circles' y-axis plus radius. Hiding Lumi, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, I'm using ARM-based laptop and VS Code isn't running properly. I need a good alternative IDE/editor for C++ and Java that works well on ARM. Please suggest the best option. Honestly, I haven't like whatchamacallit actually used ARM because like I do like use a PC from like I think it's MSI. Okay, Vivek, do you have plan for these sessions for studying? Like I do have ADHD, thus I reason streaming through, it might help. Do you plan Okay, do you plan these sessions for studying? Honestly, I don't actually plan it because like I do have like a lot to do for my college stuff. So I'm honestly just like, let's go with y-axis here real quick. So honestly, I feel like just the context that like, or the content that comes to my mind that I gotta actually learn, I do it for the time being. But later on, once my college is kind of over, I am going to be like, making like better content and everything. That said, okay, hiding are you? And I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now, after I'm done adding my landing, why do I have like a red underline here? Okay, this is a pair of parentheses and that's a pair of curly braces. What happens if I remove my radius from here? There we go. Okay, circles is y-axis, so circles is y-axis is going to be equal to my floors is y-axis. Okay, maybe I go with something like plus radius right here. There we go. Okay. What are you working on? Honestly, I am like actually working on applying gravity like C++. I feel this should like do the trick. Are you in first year? Honestly, I feel like I am like in my first year because I am like a freshman in college. That's it. If I were to save the code, I get my first window popped up here. Now, for my second window, I don't see anything falling down. Could it be that it fell down really quick? Run the program. I'm waiting, bro. Hello, guys. I feel like it went really quick down. Okay, is this some kind of game? Honestly, I think like this is considered like game logic because like, whatchamacallit, I am trying to add gravity. That said, I feel something is like wrong. Hold up, guys. Let's get some /ChatGPT here. Did I mess up some of my gravity logic? Okay, I should go with something like greater. So if my circles is y-axis plus my radius is greater than my floors is y-axis, circles is y-axis equals to my floor minus my radius. So I think that's where I messed up. Y-axis velocity, that is for bounce. I won't be adding my bounce. Hold up, guys. If my circles is y-axis plus radius is greater than my floors is y-axis, I'm gonna add a minus here. Okay, now if I save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. What is this project? So I get my first terminal here. Alright, guys, I don't think I got it like here quick enough, but like this thing did like bounce up and down. Okay, is there like a way that I could like reset it? Hold up, guys. Maybe I could add something like a jump logic. I think I could add that later because like it did actually fall down, but I don't know if I could get it here like quick enough. Okay, guys, I don't think I could get it here fast enough, but it did bounce. I mean, it did like fall down because of gravity. Okay, work on Bell ARM. Please suggest the best option. Honestly, actually, like I haven't like used ARM, so I wouldn't know like the best option for it. But I feel like I could like check it online. You guys could like join my Discord server. I usually do like ask you guys there too. I think IKR appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Let me go ahead and paste this. So go Shift Enter and say something like it works exclamation. That said, I do want to work with let's say something like jump as well. Jump as well dot. So I could try that next. And then I'll send you the code once I'm done. Okay guys, let me try with jump. Okay, what is this? Honestly, I'm learning on how to add gravity in like SDL3 C++. What's your most favorite color in red team? Red team. Okay, I feel like I do like orange. That's it. So assume you were learning high school STEM subjects on the stream. How would you do that? Any thoughts? Honestly, I would like actually, firstly, I would go through the very basics of the stuff that I do gotta, work on. For example, if I was going with something like math, I would learn my basics first and then try moving up one by one a bit, if that made any sense. Okay, what's your most favorite role in Red Team? Honestly, I haven't heard of Red Team. Have you started DSA? Actually, I didn't start DSA. That's it. I am like leaving that for like a different series. Maybe after I programming for 258 series. That's it. Now, firstly, let me start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. This time, I am honestly going to try to move my Alright guys, let's go with IO stream. Okay, this time I honestly do want to add like jump logics and all that stuff as well. Then later on, I will go with PNGs too. Okay, now, since I am going to be using SDL3, let's go ahead and include SDL3. So I'll go with SDL3 slash SDL.h. SDL.h is basically the header files for SDL. And then let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'm going to go with integer main, add a pair of parentheses, and then a pair of curly braces. And now my main function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be for an array of argv. And now inside my main function, let's add an if statement to initialize my SDL and check if it was not initialized properly. To do that, I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore init function, thus initializing my SDL. And then I want to initialize my video section as well for my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. Okay, bro, are you Indian? Honestly, I haven't like been to India. That said, whatchamacallit, I might actually stream myself someday when I go there. Okay, can you use split screen to show animation? Honestly, I did like actually want to try that because like my gravity did like go like really quick and like went pushing downwards. That said, after like I'm done with this code, I am going to be adding a jump logic so you guys could like see my animation there. Why delete everything? Why not continue where you left off? Honestly, because I do like getting practice of like writing the code from scratch again and again. That said, firstly, after I get an error, whatchamacallit, if I couldn't initialize my SDL properly, I'm gonna go with something like a standard C error. So I'm gonna go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. Okay, it's later. Just want to let you know that you inspired me to a stream. Honestly, that does sound pretty cool. So good luck with your streams. Okay, how do y'all do this shit? I don't understand coding at all. Honestly, guys, when I firstly started coding for like my Python for 100 series, I feel like I did not understand anything at all as well. But then eventually, like if you do it every single day, I feel like you do understand. It becomes like really easy. Cause like honestly, for me right now, if you guys do watch my first ever time when I started like C++, I do have a streamer of that on my channel. I didn't even know how to like set my compiler, but if you guys did help me on chat. Okay, have you learned of smart people? Bro, what are you studying? Honestly, I'm learning on how to like whatchamacallit, add gravity in like SDL3. And then let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore get error function. This function actually gets me an error. And then I'm gonna go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, now after I'm done whatchamacallit, checking if my SDL was not initialized properly and also initializing my SDL, let's go and add a comment that says something like game variables. And this time, unlike last time, I'm not just going to be adding gravity, I'm going to be adding gravity plus like a jump logic. Keep it up, man. Honestly, I appreciate your delivery. Hi, Sean. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now, for my game variables, firstly, let me go ahead and create a variable for my Windows' width. So I'm going to go with something like a constant integer for my width, which is going to be equal to something like 1,000 pixels ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like a height, the vertical size of my window. So I'm going to go with something like a constant integer, which is going to be equal to 800. This is my Windows' height. And after I'm done with that, let's go ahead and add a x-axis velocity and a y-axis velocity for my circle. So I'm going to go with something like x-axis underscore velocity. This is going to be like a floating point number. So I'm going to go with something like a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to something like maybe 6 pixels per frame floating point. And then let's go with another floating point value for like my y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be set to something like 6 pixels per frame as well. So I feel that's like a pretty decent speed. Now, after I'm done with that, did I need any other variables? I might have to create my floor as well, like where my player is going to be landing on. So I'm going to go with something like create floor. So there we go. Okay, now for my floor, firstly, my floor is going to be a rectangle. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore frect. This is basically a structure that consists of my rectangles as attributes. I'm going to be adding a local variable now which consists of my rectangles as attributes as well. Let's modify those attributes. So I'm going to go with something like floor.x-axis equals to, let's say something like, I don't know, maybe 500, which is the center of my screen. And then I'm going to go with something like floor.y-axis, which is going to be equal to something like 100 ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like floor.width, which is going to be equal to, I want the width to be like really big so it covers my entire window. So I'll go with something like my width variable plus 50. I could go with like 1,050, that would cover it, but I feel this is like much better. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Lastly, a actually floor.height, which is the height of my floor. I'm going to go with something like, I don't know, maybe 100 pixels ending with a semicolon. Too fast? Oh, honestly, guys, in that case, I might slow down a bit. Howdy, mate, so I appreciate you joining the stream. Alright, guys, let me try slowing down a bit now. So, after I'm done creating my floor, let's add another comment that saves me to something like create my window and my renderer both at the same time. So, I'll add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. There we go. Now, for my create window and renderer, I'm going to be requiring 2 local variables. So, let's add these 2 local variables. The first local variable is going to be something like SDL underscore window. This is a structure that consists of all my Windows' attributes. This is going to be, my Windows' pointer now is going to be, consisting of all the Windows' attributes too. I'm going to be setting that to null PDR, which is basically a placeholder for my pointers. Okay, why don't just use AI, guys? I feel like I'm actually learning, so like using AI would like, ruin the point for learning. I do use AI a lot when it comes to like learning stuff, but if I do like know something, then I do it on my own. That's it, howdy, Maddie. I appreciate you joining the stream. You look like a guy from Jack Universe. Oh, I see. That actually sounds pretty cool. That's it. I'm going to be creating a local variable, this pointer for my renderer as well, which is going to be set to null PTR placeholder for my pointer. Now, after I'm done creating my window and my renderer as a local variable, let's actually use the function that does create my windows and render both at the same time. So I could go with something like SDL underscore create window and the renderer function. This function creates both my renderer and my window at the same time. There we go. Okay, and then let's go with the pro of curly braces. Now, let's see the parameters that it requires. So it requires a title slash a caption for a window. My window's width and height. We did create two variables for that. A window flag, then the memory address of my window local variable and my renderer local variable. Slow down, Kumar. Guys, I feel like let me try slowing down a bit more. Okay, so I'm going to be adding a title. My title is going to be something like SDL3 gravity created. Guys, is the speed good enough? And then I'm going to add a comma. Now I'm going to be needing, let's say, two more variables, which is going to be my Windows' width, which is my width variable, adding a colon, and then I'll go with something like my Windows' height, which is going to be my height variable. Then my fourth parameter is going to be a flag for my window. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could go with 0. But since I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable, I could go with something like SDL underscore create. Okay, hold up guys, SDL underscore window underscore resizable. Tell me, you learned English, some insights please, how you learned English. Guys, I feel like ever since I was born, I've been like influenced with with speaking a lot of English. Like I feel I did catch it like along the way. That said, once I'm done with adding my, my Windows flag, I'm going to be needing the memory address for my window local variable and my renderer local variable. So I could go with something like an ampersand of window and then a address of operator of my renderer. Guys, is the speed good enough? Because I feel like I'm talking way too slow right now. Okay, I don't have a BCA, but no use, can't even recall basic C language. I feel like it is like pretty easy. Like I think like C++ was like kind of easy when it came to learning. Okay, bro, seeing you do all these coding is making me nervous, but at the same time curious about learning, and also wanted to ask, how did you learn everything you're doing? Honestly, I did like start off by learning the very basics. For example, how to like display console output, input, how to create variables, how do if statements, while loop, and all the basic syntaxes work in C++. I did like stream myself ever since like the first day I did start C++, so you guys could like check that out as well. How's your day going? My day is going pretty good. How are you doing, comrade? I appreciate you joining the stream. You're not talking too slow? Oh, okay, that's perfect, because I was like concerned if I'm talking like too slow. Okay, now after I'm done creating my window and renderer, let's add an if statement that checks if my window and renderer was not created properly. To do that, I could go with something like if not window, okay, or not a renderer. If either my window or my renderer was not created properly, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be adding a standard C error with an insertion operator that is gonna give me an SDL underscore create window and renderer error. Okay, this is basically my function name, the create window and render, so it's easier to like eventually see if I did get an error. And then let's go with another insertion operator, and then use the function that actually gets me an error. What's the purpose of doing so much coding? I feel like it is like pretty good practice for the time being. Eventually, once I do get pretty proficient / nice at doing this stuff, I might actually, start skipping these parts. But for now, I feel it is a pretty good practice to learn it. Hi, Mohammed, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, then I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore get error function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'll go with another insertion operator, add a standard end line ending with a semicolon. There's an error in line 16. Line 16. Okay, for my floating y-axis velocity, I feel like this part is kind of correct. Okay, x-axis and y-axis, I think it is correct. What's the difference between C error and console output? Basically, there's not like much difference, but like we use C error to like actually tell like this is like an error text, and we use console output for like just displaying regular console outputs. Hey man, how you doing? Upmission, is that your pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. You making game or website? I'm learning on how to add or like simulate gravity in like SDL3 using C++. Yo, it's me again. What are you making now? I'm honestly learning on how to apply gravity. That's it. If my window, my renderer was not created properly, I'm gonna go ahead and exit my SDL first. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore quit ending with a semicolon, and then I'm gonna go ahead and return one saying something went wrong in this block of code. Okay, just joking. Okay, and then now after I'm done, creating my window and renderer, let's add another comment that says something like circle properties. So I'm gonna be creating some of my circle properties. There we go. Okay, for my circle properties, my circle is going to be requiring something like an x-axis, so I'll go with circle x-axis, a integer of circle x-axis, which is going to be equal to something like 500 ending with a semicolon, and then a integer of circles is y-axis, which is going to be something like 100 ending with a semicolon, and then let's go with something like an integer of radius. Radius is basically how thick my circle is. I'm going to set it to be 50 ending with a semicolon. What's the full form of SDL3? I honestly forgot. What up, guys? Let me actually check that, because like I did like whatchamacallit, see the full form. Let me check something like what is the full form of SDL3. I remember knowing it. Okay, it's simple direct media layer 3. Okay, the full form is simple direct media layer 3, guys. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done creating my circles as properties, let's add another comment that says my main loop. So now I'm going to be actually working on my main loop. This is going to be where I add my gravity and all the other stuff. Can you show me the result? Honestly, I'm almost done with it. After I'm like done with my main loop, that is going to be pretty much it. Okay, I was not able to watch stream for 20 or so days, and you just got too far. Guys, I feel like whatchamacallit, I feel like this is also the pretty basics. Okay, he's gonna chat GPT it. Guys, I don't like chat GPT like everything. I just like use chat GPT for learning stuff. Show some output. Honestly, if I had to like control S to save the code and run the command, it is like not gonna show anything. I just get an empty terminal, because like I didn't like actually add my window or anything, but so far there is no error, so that's a good thing. Now for my main loop, I'm gonna go ahead and create something like a boolean variable for is running. I'm gonna initially set it to be true, and then let's create a event loop. I'm gonna be creating an event loop because I do want to iterate over my loop to like actually check for events. Okay, and then I'm going to be setting this to be to an event variable. Basically, my SDL underscore events structure consists of all my SDL events. Now those events can be accessed through my event variable as well. Okay, and then let's finally create our main loop. So I'm going to go with something like while is running, while my program is running, this loop is going to be running as well. I'm going to be adding a event loop inside of my, inside of my main loop. So this is basically a while loop inside of a while loop slash a nested loop. So I'm going to go with something like while a parentheses. Let's use the SDL underscore poll event function. Basically, what the SDL underscore poll event function does is it like looks for the current event that I'm actually looking for inside of my while loop, and if one of that events is met, it does what I said it to do. He might be like hybrid, guys. That's the perfect way to say it. Okay, and then my SDL underscore poll event function does require a parameter. It requires a memory added for my event variable, and then I'm going to go with the proper curly braces. Create a binary tree for 51,123 using Python. Honestly, guys, I haven't like learned binary yet. That's it. I'm going to be adding a event loop in I'm going to look for an event type inside of my event loop. So I'll go with something like if my event variables is type equals to let's say something like SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, if my user did click the top right X button in the screen, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. And if my is running is set to false, it exits my entire while loop. Okay, and I will be adding a few more event checks for like my key controls. So before I do that though, let's create a few more boolean values to check what key I'm currently pushing down. I might go with something like a key for W down. My W down is currently not being pushed, so I'm going to be set that to false. And then let's create another boolean for something like S down. My S button is currently not being pushed down as well, so I'm going to set that equal to false too. And then let's go with something like A down. My A is not being pushed down, so I'm going to set that equal to false as well. Lastly, I'm going to go with something like D down. My D is currently not being pushed down, so I'm going to be set that to false as well. Okay, create a hello world program using C. Honestly, I haven't like learned C. That's it. I did like learn C++. Now, inside my event loop, let's look my current event type and what all buttons my user clicks. Depending on that, these are going to be true or false. To do that, I could go ahead and exit outside of my if statement for like my SDL.event type. I'm going to look for another event type. So I'm going to go with something like if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. This basically is an event to like check if my key is currently being pushed down. If any one of these keys are being pushed down, I am going to be setting those to be false. Do you do any job or just learning it? Honestly, I just like learning it because like, guys, you guys could like actually call me jobless. That said, after that, let's go ahead and add this time. I could like go with nested if statements, but I feel I'm going to go with switches because that like looks kind of cool. So I'll go with something like switch. So my switches condition is going to be if my event variables is key, and I'll go with key.key. Basically, event.key looks all my keys and the other dot key here looks the current key that's being pushed down. Okay, where do I learn this? Honestly, I did like learn everything I do know using ChatGPT. That said, if you guys do want to like learn exactly how I did, you guys could like watch my stream from like the very first C++ stream. I didn't go as a complete beginner as well. It's event type and enum. Honestly, I haven't like thought of that. That said, event.type is basically it checks my current events type. So for example, if my event type is quit, it executes this. If my event type is a key being pushed down, it executes this code. If that made any sense. Okay, and then I'm going to be adding a few cases. So for my case 1, I'm going to look if my SDL's key is, let's say, Q. Actually, W. If my W is being pushed, I'm going to be doing something. Let's go ahead and set my W down boolean variable to be equal to true because it's currently being pushed down. And then I'm going to go ahead and break, ending with a semicolon. Now, for my second case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is something like S. If my key is S, I'm going to go with something like my S down boolean variable and set that equal to true as well. My S is currently being pushed down. Maybe I fix my typo. There we go. Okay, and then let's go ahead and break, ending with a semicolon. Now, for my third case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key, okay, is something like A. If my A is currently being pushed down, I'm going to go with something like A down boolean variable. I'm going to be setting that equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and break. Howdy Pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Lastly, for my fourth case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key is D. While my D is being pushed down, I'm going to go with something like D down boolean variable. I'm going to be setting that equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, let's go ahead and break. Okay, so these are all the event type checks. If my key is being pushed down, whenever a key is being pushed down, this is going to be set to true. But I gotta add another event loop, so I'm going to copy this just to save time. Paste it all the way down here. Now, I gotta add another event loop to check if my key is not being pushed down anymore. So I could just change this down to be something like up. Okay, so now if my keys are not being pushed down anymore, which means it has to be pushing upwards, I'm going to reset all these trues to be false. There we go. Okay, and that's pretty much it for like all my event loops that I'm going to be adding here. Okay, your learning is smooth, like no distractions, just learning how to program this in a very good... How to program this is a very good thing. Honestly, I do appreciate you, A909. Is that how I pronounce your name? Guys, that actually means the world to me. Okay, hover the point over the event tab, it will show its type. Oh, does it? Okay, so it says uint32 SDL underscore event type. Event type shared with all events uint32 to cover user events which are not in the SDL underscore event type enumeration. So it is like an enum. Okay, now let's go ahead and exit outside of my entire event loop. So my event loop does exist here. So I'm going to exit outside of my event loop. Okay, now that I'm outside of my event loop, let's go ahead and fill my screen with a color. So I'll go with a comment that says something like fill screen. Now, for filling my screen, I gotta firstly set a color for my render because my render is like a paintbrush that actually does all the coloring for me. So I'll go ahead and use the function called something like SDL underscore, let's say something like set render. I'm going to be setting my render / my paintbrush to draw a color. Okay, and then I'm going to be requiring a few parameters. uint32 is a kind of integer. I see. Okay, next up, I'm gonna go ahead and add a few parameters. So the first parameter is gonna be my render variable. The second, third, and fourth parameter is gonna be RGB value. I'm gonna set that to something like 0, 248, and 255. This is the RGB for cyan. And lastly, I need an opacity / a alpha. I'm gonna be set that to 255. So my color is not transparent at all. And then let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Now let's use the function that actually does color / clear my entire screen with my render's current color. So I could go and use the SDL underscore render, so I'm saying my render to clear my entire window. Okay, hey, you know the keywords? Is that how I pronounce it? Honestly, I haven't like heard of keywords. What's it like about? Okay, and then this is going to be requiring a parameter of my render variable ending with a semicolon. And then now once I'm done filling my screen, I'm going to add a comment here that says something like graphics. Okay, this is going to be where I like draw my rectangle and all that stuff. Actually draw my circle and all that stuff. So for my graphic, I could go ahead and firstly, before I do create my circle, I gotta change my render's color, because until I don't like explicitly or like manually change this color is like always gonna stay cyan. So to change it, I just gotta use the function all over again. So I'm gonna go with SDL underscore set render. So I'm gonna set my render to draw a color. There we go. And then a prof parentheses. Now I'm going to be requiring a render variable as a parameter, then a RGB. Let's say my circle is going to be red, so I'll go with 23500. And then my alpha slash opacity is going to be 255. I don't want my circle to be transparent at all. Okay, after setting a color for my renderer, let's use a for loop. Now I'm going to be actually creating my circle on my screen. So I'll go with something like for every event. My bad guys, let's say for every direction, for every integer of direction x, this is an index-based for loop, which equals to negative radius, ending with a semicolon, while my direction x is greater than, actually is less than or equal to my positive radius. I'm going to be incrementing my direction x by 1. So I'll go with direction x plus plus. Okay, so that is for my circles' x-axis. My circles' direction x. Now I'm going to go ahead and add one for my circles' direction y as well. So a nested for loop. Now for my nested for loop, I'm going to go with something like for every integer of direction y, which equals to negative radius, which is technically negative 50. While my direction y is less than or equal to my positive radius 50, I'm going to do something. Let's increment my direction I by 1 and then add a pair of curly braces. Hey, what are you making? A creative website or something else? Honestly, I am like, trying to draw a circle on the screen that does have like gravity logic to it as well. Plus, I want it to move around too. That said, I'm going to go ahead and do something now here. I'm going to be adding an if statement before I actually do draw my circle. I'm going to go with something like if my direction x multiplied by my direction x, which is if my direction x squared plus my direction y squared, there we go, is either less than or equal to, let's say something like my radius squared, so radius multiplied by radius. And I could have used like the C math library to do this, but I feel like I like doing stuff manually because like it's like a pretty good practice. Now after I'm done adding my if statement here that actually does create my circle, let's use the SDL underscore render point function. This function is actually going to draw my circle because like unlike like rectangles, because like SDL does have a function that does draw a rectangle for me. It's called something like SDL underscore frec. It does draw a rectangle for me. I don't have one for circle, so we got to manually create a circle using like dots on the screen. Okay, this requires two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer variable. Rushing to be a master of programming because you keep talking non-stop and that seems not calm. It's like you have over energy. Guys, I feel like I am kind of sick today. I don't feel like that well. That said, okay, come on, man. Just run and let's see what it does. It's honestly not going to do anything just yet, but once I'm done with this, it's going to do something. So I'm going to go with something like circle x plus, let's say something like my circle x, but actually circle x plus my direction x, and then I'll add a comma. I'll go with circle y multiplied by my direction y. Actually, plus my direction y. Okay, then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. That's pretty much it. Now my window should have a circle. After that, let's go ahead and actually present it on the screen. Because like if I don't present whatever I did on the screen, it is going to be black and white. So I'll go with something like present. And guys, it's actually almost done. To present, I could go ahead and use something like SDL underscore render present function. So I'm going to be presenting my render on my screen. This does require parameter of render. Then you could use the torus equation, man. Honestly, I haven't like heard of torus, guys, because I'm kind of bad with math. That said, I do like remember the formulas that I do need to make circles and all that stuff with because I did get a lot of practice with it. That said, I'm going to go with something like FPS. Now for FPS, let's use the SDL underscore delay function with a pair of parentheses that does require parameter in milliseconds. I'm going to go with 16 milliseconds, which is basically 60 frames per second. Howdy Anonymous, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, after I'm done with my FPS, finally, let's go ahead and go with something like cleanup. So this is going to be once my window is destroyed. So I'm firstly going to destroy my window. SDL underscore destroy window. This does require parameter of my window variable. So I'm going to go with something like window ending with a semicolon. Then I'll need a SDL underscore destroy renderer. I'm going to be destroying my renderer as well with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my renderer variable ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's return 0. Okay, now if I to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I do have a circle here. That circle should move with my key controls. Hold up, guys. It actually doesn't move with my key controls because I forgot to add an if statement for it. Hold up, guys. Under my graphics. So after I'm done with my event loop, before I add fill screen, I gotta add a comment that says something like key controls. Guys, I forgot to like whatchamacallit, add the velocities, like move my directions with my velocities. So I'll go with something like key controls. Now for my key controls, I'm going to be adding a if statement. Let's say something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my W is currently being pushed down, if that is set to true, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go with something like my y-axis underscore velocity. Okay, actually my circles is y-axis, so I'll go with circles is y-axis is going to go ahead and decrease by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then let's add another if statement for whatchamacallit. What up, guys? Okay, let's add another if statement for my S down. So I'm going to go with something like if a prof parentheses, okay, 16 frames, so length is like 62.5 FPS. Oh, I see. Honestly, I feel like 15 would be like lower than that. I think like the rounder is up. That's it. I'm going to go with something like S down with a prof parentheses. While my S is being pushed down, I'm going to increase my circles as y-axis by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Okay. And then let's go with another if statement with a pair of parentheses. While my A is being pushed down, I'm going to do something. I'm going to increase my circles as x-axis. Actually, I'm going to decrease it by my x-axis underscore velocity. And then lastly, if a pair of parentheses, let's say something like if my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to go ahead and add a pair of curly braces and go with my circles as x-axis. I'm going to go ahead and increase it by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Why don't you copy paste? Because honestly, I feel like I'm actually just learning the code, because like if I don't actually type it myself, so I don't get the muscle memory, that's the reason I did like whatchamacallit disable my into lessons as well, so like I don't get any kind of hints when I write this stuff. That's it. I feel it is a pretty good practice. Once I am pretty proficient with this, I will actually like whatchamacallit try using the into lessons. That's it. If I save the code, okay, so I get my circle here. Now my circle does move with my keys, although I did not add gravity here. So let's go ahead and add my gravity logic now. For my gravity logic, I'm going to go, maybe before my present, let's add a comment that says something like apply gravity. Okay, for applying my gravity, firstly, I got to increase my y-axis. Hold up, guys. Okay, okay, my y-axis underscore velocity is like 6 frames per second though. I might add something for like gravity's y-axis velocity. Okay, I'm gonna change that equal to 0. Okay, let's go with 0 floating point. Now my gravity is the only thing that actually does move. Okay, so for my apply gravity, I'm gonna go with something like let's go with something like my y-axis underscore velocity. So that is going to be increasing by my gravity. Okay, my gravity variable. If you're adding gravity, why does the S key matter, bro? Honestly, I didn't want to add the S key. Instead, I'm going to add like a space button. I just added this to like actually see if I remember my key controls. I will be deleting my S key from here and then like using my space to like jump up. So I'm going to change something like my gravity variable. Did I spell gravity wrong up here? Did I even create a variable for gravity? I did not create a variable. So let's go ahead and create a floating point variable. So I'll go with something like, what up, guys? I'm going to go all the way up here. Let's go ahead under my game variables. Okay, so that's a floating point, y-axis underscore velocity. I'll go with something like a floating point for gravity, which equals to 0.5f. Okay, run it. Why are you actually making, okay, why are you actually making, can you recall? What are you actually making? Honestly, I'm like learning on how to like apply gravity to my objects, so my objects should be falling downwards with gravity. If I use a key control, it could like jump and all that stuff. Okay, damn, you came a long way. Keep going. Honestly, I appreciate your wish was. Run it. I'm almost done actually. I might run it real soon. Okay, that said, after I'm done adding my gravity here, so I'm going to increase my y-axis underscore velocity by my gravity. Then let's increase my circles as y-axis by my y-axis underscore velocity. So my my y-axis velocity increases by my gravity, then my circles is y-axis increases by my y-axis underscore velocity. So speed increases by acceleration, then direction increases by speed. If that made any sense, guys. Okay, after I'm done with that, let's add a if statement to like check my landing, because I do want to land on my floor. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my circles is y-axis is either greater than my floor dot y-axis. If it's greater than my floors this y-axis, I'm pretty sure I created my floors attributes. So, okay, SDL underscore f right, because I didn't end this with a semicolon. There we go. Okay, so if that is greater than my floors is y-axis plus my radius, I'm gonna do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then let's go ahead and set my circles as y-axis to be equal to my floor dot y-axis minus my radius. Okay, ending with a semicolon. How do you know stuff like what context macros are? Do you know these stuff like what context PR macros are? Honestly, I haven't like I haven't like learned about that, but they do sound pretty cool. when do you sleep? Honestly, I do like these days. I do sleep like at 12 p.m. That said, it is currently like 2 p.m. right now. I think this is like pretty much it. Let me go ahead and remove my S from here because I feel like I wouldn't need S at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove my S. Let's remove S from here as well. There we go, and then let's go ahead and remove S from here too. And lastly, I'm going to remove my S variable as well because I won't be needing S at all, honestly. There we go. Okay, now for it control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Howdy Pixel, I appreciate you joining the stream. Alright guys, this feels like it's like bounced, like it's falling down way too quick. Okay, if I hit W, it goes downwards. I think I set my position wrong for, whatchamacallit, for my floor. Oh, I see. It's the SDL2 library. Honestly, it is the SDL3 library. Okay, that said, I'm definitely like messing up with my floors' logic. I feel like instead, when I have my floor here, my width is going to be 1050. My height is going to be that. My y-axis is going to be 800. And now for it control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. There we go. So my ball does fall. Okay, it is currently stuck here. If I hit W, it goes up and then it falls. Why is the going up so slow? That is my y-axis velocity, which is 0 pixels per frame. What up guys, I might like fix that really quick. And then let's go ahead and change this. Where's it at? To change this to be greater than or equal to my floor. And then I'm going to be increasing my y-axis underscore velocity by something like 6 pixels per frame. Actually, I'll go with something like 3 pixels per frame. That is like my jump speed. Do you go to college? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. I want to see how are you going to add a camp follow code for the sprite. Honestly, I haven't like learned about sprite class yet. That's it. I might go through that because I like don't have sprites because I usually do make my own sprites, but I feel like whatchamacallit, I might need more time to actually make my sprites. Okay, I can go to the left or right or top. I feel something is kind of messed up here. Hold up, guys. My gravity does work. Have you ever played around drawing with eclipses? Honestly, I did like draw multiple objects because like whatchamacallit, I did have like a whole, I think about 3 lives of me actually learning how to draw objects in like C++. I went over like a lot of objects there. That said, let's go ahead and paste this here. Go with Shift Enter and say something like, say, I honestly tried adding key controls plus gravity without any kind of whatchamacallit. Let's say something like without any kind of idea. I feel like it does work, but something. Okay, let's go with something like, but something is kind of messed up? Question mark. Okay, guys, I feel something is messed up. You're floor.y-axis plus radius instead of circle y-axis plus radius. I am like going with my floor though. Floor.y-axis plus radius. What up, guys? Let me actually try that. Okay, circles is y-axis plus radius. Oh wait, that actually does make sense. Okay, there's no way I actually missed that. What up, guys? Let me hit Control S to save the code and run the command again. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I do get my window here. It does fall down. If I hit W, I don't move up, but it does fall down cleanly though. Okay, I can go higher than that because I feel I'm like under my floor maybe. Okay, that actually does make sense now. Okay, that's floor.y-axis, but let me read something slash ChatGPT explanation. You should try monkey type. Honestly, I haven't like heard of monkey type. Okay, people, slow down and look at your screen like a warrior. So, mistake 1, your floor is in the wrong place. You put 800, but your window's height is 800. That means your floor is starting outside the window, so your collision check is nonsense. You're basically telling your circle when you reach the floor, which you can't see, stop. Okay, you set your floor to be 700, mistake 2. Okay, that is the collision logic. Stop the circle on top of the floor you need. Mistake 3, your x-axis velocity is literally 0. Didn't I change my y-axis velocity? Okay, something like this to 5 pixels per frame. And then W down currently. Okay, and then this lets the player fly upwards indefinitely unaffected by gravity. You want jumping, you must apply jump once. So y-axis underscore velocity. If W down and on ground. Okay, y-axis underscore velocity decreases by -12. So I like jump up, then I be falling down. Fix floor position, fix collision logic, okay, that stops falling, fix movement. Oh, I see. I do remember going through this on like Python, I feel like about like 60 days ago. Okay, I should have actually known on how this collision logic works. That said, let's see. I think I got a pretty good review, guys. Okay, so let me go all the way up here. Why did I change my x-axis underscore velocity to be 0? That actually didn't make any sense. Let's change this to 6 pixels per frame. Let me go ahead and change my y-axis underscore velocity to be 0, maybe. Okay, I'll maybe change that to be 0 later. Okay, honestly, I could like change that to be 0. There we go. Okay, and then let's scroll all the way down to... Okay, when I go ahead and create my floor is currently outside my actual window, so I'm going to change that to 700. Now it is inside of my window. Okay, and then scrolling all the way down to... Okay, so I have all these variables. I need another boolean variable called something like on ground. Okay, which is going to be set to something like false initially. Okay, there we go, and then let's go ahead and add a comma there. Now, after I'm done adding my on ground variable, once I'm done with something like my while loops and everything here, I go with key control, I go with graphics. Now, for my apply gravity, I increase my y-axis velocity by my gravity. Okay, if circles' y-axis plus radius is greater than or equal to my floor, circles' y-axis equal to floor dot y-axis minus my radius, then I'm gonna go ahead and set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0. I reset it, ending with a semicolon. Let's add another if statement now. So I'm gonna go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my circles' y-axis is equal to my floor dot y-axis. Honestly, I might go with something like less than or equal to. If it's either less than or equal to my floor dot y-axis, then I'm going to do something. Let's go ahead and set my on ground boolean variable to be equal to true, because it's currently it's currently like on my floor, ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to be adding an else clause here, else a pair of curly braces. On ground boolean variable is going to be set to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, let's go ahead and add my jump logic. So, I'm going to go with something like, a comment here that says something like jump logic. Maybe I should add my jump logic on my key controls section. Hold up, guys, let me actually add it there. So, under my key controls, instead of going with x-axis velocity, I could like hardcode these numbers. But I feel like y-axis is pretty good. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my space is being pressed. So I might need another boolean variable that is like for my space. So I could go ahead and say something like SPC down. What up, guys? There we go. SPC down. So if my space button is currently being pressed down, I'm going to set that equal to false because it's currently not being pressed down. There we go. Okay, and then in my event types, I'm going to add another case. So I'm going to go with something like for my case 4, if my SDL's current key is something like space. Does that exist? Oh, it actually does. Then I'm going to go with something like my SPC down variable. It is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and break. There we go. And let's actually add that thing for my event type key up as well. Okay, so I'll go with something like my case 4 here as well. If my SDL's key is something like my space, if my space is being pushed down, my SPC down boolean variable is going to be set to false. Okay, ending with a semicolon because my space is currently not being pushed down anymore. And then I'm going to break. Okay, now, in my key controls, I'll go with something like if my space down is set to true, I'm going to do something. My circles' y-axis is going to go ahead and increase by, let's say, something like negative 12 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. When I jump, it goes all the way up. Okay, so it increases by this. I think that's pretty good. Okay, that's it. That's honestly pretty much it. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, wait, there's errors. Okay, type boolean unexpected, A down undeclared identifier, D down undeclared identifier. Did I forget to add a radius or something? What up, guys? Okay, I'm pretty sure I did not forget to add radius. I did not forget to add a semicolon. So W down, they say it's undetected. How is it undetected? I feel like I did it correctly. Okay, do I increase that by my y-axis underscore velocity? Is it my if statements up here? Okay, I added my key controls there. If my circles' y-axis is less than or equal to my floor, on ground is set to 2. Oh, hold up. Let's go with something like ant on ground. There we go. Okay, now for controllers to save the code and run the command, I still get so many errors. Undeclared identifier on ground. Wait, is it because like my space key was wrong? What up, guys? Is it because whatchamacallit, the space that I used here, that was wrong? Hey, directo, ¿cómo estás? Or ¿cómo estás? Guys, I'm assuming that says, hey, how are you? Honestly, BNE2, I'm good as well. Okay, actually, I think BNE2 is like good and you. Guys, I was like learning some, whatchamacallit, Spanish, but I didn't have enough time. Bro, yap's too much, guys. Honestly, that does make sense. I should like slow down a bit. That's it. Hold up. Let me actually paste this, go with shift enter and say something like, say, I feel like I messed up again, question mark. I did get a couple of errors. Huh. I feel like I think that I did everything correct. People, I'm watching grab you by the shoulders and shake your brain back to position. You did mess up, but in a way that makes sense for someone coding while and living and panicking like a little chicken on caffeine. Okay, let's fix this step by step before gravity pulls your sanity. Rule 1. Okay, this line is illegal. Oh, I shouldn't have gone with boolean. There we go. Guys, I don't know how I keep forgetting these basic stuff again and again. I did not need a boolean here because like already all these variables are booleans. Okay, now if I want to save the code and run the command, I get my first window here and I get my second window here. That does fall down. If I hit space, I jump up. Okay, and if I go here, I can jump that side. Okay, it does exist. I need to add a logic that traps my window on my screen. Guys, I should have actually remembered that. Okay. Okay, that does add some kind of like a bounce logic. Okay, jumping 1 gets me 12 pixels high. Okay, I think it actually does kind of work. But it doesn't work the way I expected. Okay, it falls down really quick. Okay, so it goes 12 pixels high while it's being pushed down. When I leave it, it falls down really quick. I think it does kind of work though. But guys, let me actually read the whole thing. Amigo G Don. Guys, I actually can't read Spanish because like I haven't like learned Spanish that well just yet. Okay, you know this. Just let your fingers turn into wet noodles. Edit to your jumping is wrong. This moves the position, not the velocity. Gravity will override it immediately. Jump must be velocity. Edit 3, your ground. Okay, your on ground check is wrong. Okay, CY is the center of the circle. Circle must be something like on ground equals to CY plus radius, which is greater than my floor.y axis. I think I see. Bro, yap's too much, guys. I feel like I should like talk a bit slower. Bro, it's amazing. Honestly, I appreciate your big souls, guys, but I feel this is going to get much better. Edit 4, jump logic must happen after collision. Okay, otherwise you may double trigger it. Here's the fixed version. So I fix those stuff and then I go with it on ground. My on ground is going to be equal to my circle's y-axis plus my radius, which is greater than or equal to my floor. Okay, now listen, you're so close. Okay, guys, I feel like I see where I messed up. So jump logic must come after my collision. So let's copy the key controls from here, and collision is basically after my gravity uses collision, which is all the way under this. Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way here, paste that here. Okay, now I'm gonna be removing my this thing from here. Okay, let's go ahead and remove that from there. And now when I do create an on ground variable, I'm gonna remove that from here. Okay, and then let's add a comma here. Okay, D down is set to false as well. I'm gonna add this in a new line. Okay, I'm gonna be creating another boolean variable for something like on ground, which is gonna be set to something like, I don't know, maybe true. Actually, not true. On ground is only going to be set to true if my circles is y-axis. Was it y-axis? I'm pretty sure it was y-axis. Plus my radius, okay, is either greater than or equal to my floor's y-axis. Okay, hi Harding and Rush, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. So this is only going to be true while this condition is met. And then going all the way down here, this is going to be my y-axis underscore velocity that I honestly won't need. Let's go ahead and remove my w down. Okay, and then let's go ahead and remove w down from here as well because I'm not using my w. I just use my space. Okay, let's remove the w down boolean variable from here as well. There we go. Okay, and then let's get everything up there. This is boolean of A down, and that is a boolean of something like space being pushed down. Okay, perfect. Honestly, I might get this lower. That may look much better. What language do you speak? Honestly, I am like speaking English. That's it. I am like actually using C++ here to write stuff in like Visual Studio. Okay, that said, now that I'm done with my main loop adding stuff, okay, and then I added my key downs as well. This is for going left and right. I applied my gravity. Okay, and one more place where I did like mess up was if my I increase my circles' y-axis by my floor, and I gotta change this to be y-axis underscore velocity. Okay, that is going to be equal to -12, so it's going to be pushed upwards. And now if I to save the code and run the command, guys, this should actually work. So I get my first window here, and I get my second window all the way here. Okay, if I hit space. Okay, space doesn't jump. It doesn't let it jump up if I hit space, probably because I am like set to 0 pixels per frame. Hola, ¿cómo estás? How are you doing, Marcolius? Is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that said, let's see, where could I be messing up? When my space is being clicked and on ground is set to true, I'm gonna jump upwards. Okay, so maybe I go ahead and delete this part real quick. I want to check if it works without my on ground, because if it doesn't, I'm gonna like add a additional if statement. Guys, I actually can't. I'm not that like good in Spanish just yet. Okay, that said, if I hit space, alright, guys, that was a lot. Hold up, let me try that again. My space just zapped me up. Did I have my FPS? I did add my FPS. Where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer a lot, but that's it. I did like start avoid answering that question because like many of you guys did say me to avoid answering that as well. What time is it now? Honestly, it is almost like 2:30 here. Okay, 2:30 p.m. Okay, so I'll go with something like and on ground. Okay, both of them are set to true. My on ground is going to be set to true if something happens. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this from here. This is initially going to be set to false, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to add an if statement here. So I'll go with if a of parentheses. Let's say something like if my circle dot y-axis is something like if my circle is y-axis plus my radius is either less than or equal to my floor dot y-axis, I'm going to do something. I'm going to go ahead and set my on ground boolean variable to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. Else, I'm going to set it to be false. Let's go with an else clause as well. If of curly braces, my on ground boolean variable is going to be set to false. There we go, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now for it control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Change the color of the ball. Honestly, I could actually. That's it. Here's my ball. It falls down. If I hit space, it does like jump up really quick. I gotta like should I like decrease my pixels here? Okay, y-axis underscore velocity is going to increase by -12. Okay, and did I use my y-axis underscore velocity anywhere? Okay, if my circles is y-axis plus my radius is greater than or equal to my floor, so it does land on my floor. Change the change to colors ball. Guys, what color should I change the ball to? Maybe I could change it to be something like blue this time. So I'm going to change that to be something like 0 and that to be 255. Adding collider. Honestly, I didn't like learn about adding colliders. That's it. I am going to be going over collision logic soon. Okay, that said, okay, circles is y-axis. My circle just zap up really quick. Maybe I changed it to something like 6. I want to see what happens if I change my y-axis velocity to be 6. That is like my jump speed. Okay, so that is my circle. Guys, there we go. Okay, it just goes up. It does fall down as well. Okay, it works if I like click it and like release it in an instant. If I am just clicking it, then it keeps zapping upwards. I'm assuming it will fall down. Okay, it does fall down. I feel it works, but there is something that could be fixed here. Okay, and then let's go ahead and okay, I feel it just zaps up really quick, guys. So maybe I remove that from my checks here. Okay, if my space is being pressed, so while it is being pressed, my space is going to be set to true. Maybe I go with a different event type for my jump. That does make sense. I could actually try that. I could try doing something like if my space... Okay, so I'll go with a different case here. Let me delete this case from here. Okay, instead I'm going to be adding an if statement here. I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my SDL's key type is something like switch. Okay, what up guys? If my SDL.key.key, let me actually delete this part real quick. If my event.key, this looks for all my keys, and the .key looks for a specific type of key. If my current key types, I'll go with something like if my SDL's current key is something like space, I'm gonna do something. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. Okay, if it is space, what am I gonna do? I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Should I go with the pair of curly braces? Okay, I gotta add a nested if statement. So if a pair of parentheses. So if my type is space, then I'm gonna be doing something. I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Okay, if space and on ground, then I'm gonna do something. Okay, let's go ahead and set my y-axis underscore velocity to increase by -12. Okay, ending with a semicolon. So now, only when my space key is being pressed and I'm not currently on, and actually I'm currently on ground, I am going to be jumping upwards by -12 pixels. So if I did add that, I might have to copy this thing, okay, and add it before my event loop. So maybe I could go ahead and paste it all the way here. Okay, so this is my on ground, and since I am going with on ground, let's go ahead and paste that under my while loop as well. So this is a variable for my while loop. Okay, perfect. I feel like that's like pretty much it. And then if I were to scroll down, these are my key controls to go left and right. I add gravity, I add if statements. Okay, if my user is currently on my floor, my user doesn't move anymore because the velocity is set to 0. Let's delete this. Alright, now if I did Control S to save the code and run the command, this should work, guys. Okay, so here's my ball that falls down. If I hit space, okay, it still like zaps up. Is it gonna fall down? Okay, it does fall down. That said, if I click it once, that's when this happens. But if I like spam click it, it's like the Flappy Bird logic. Huh. Guys, I feel this feels like more like a Flappy Bird logic where I can like go left and right. Okay, and let me actually check in a place that you guys can actually see it. There we go. I think that should be good. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and exit this. Let's exit that window as well. Let's go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Make it advance. Honestly, I should actually think of making it advance. Okay, that's it. Let me go ahead and paste this here real quick. Go with Shift Enter and see something like say. It feels like a Flappy Bird logic. Okay, did I mess up somewhere? Okay, let's see. And guys, I do want to add the collision logic as well. Let's say something like, did I mess up somewhere, question mark. Okay, let's see. That moves it to the right. Make it advance, that moves it to the right. Honestly, I do like have, like, if I click D, I do go to the right. That's it, people. Come here, come closer. I'm about to yell so hard that even your stream chat will feel the shock waves. This is not Flappy Bird logic. This is I accidentally butchered my input system with a frying pan logic. Guys, I feel like I didn't mess up. Never mind. Okay, when you did, yes, you did mess up, and it's very specific, very cursed. Let me break your mistakes down so the chat can enjoy the roast. Mistake 1, you turned on ground upside down. You wrote if CY plus radius. This means if you're above the floor, you're on the ground. People, why? Come here, here's the correct logic. Oh, it should be greater than. Mistake 2, you absolutely destroyed space key checks. This literally translates to if any key is pressed, the space exists as a concept, then applying jump. SDL space key is just a number like 32. If you basically said if 32 and on ground always true, okay, then is on ground. Okay, if event.key.key equals to SDL key is space and on ground. Oh, I see. So I'm looking for my current key type. Wait up, mistake 3. You put on ground inside the loop. Wrong. You're checking on ground before gravity applies, not after the physics is resolved. Declare on ground outside the loop. Okay, Boolean false. Inside the loop after gravity and collision. On ground. Okay, if circle's y-axis plus radius is greater than or equal to floor, I think I see. Okay, so if my case is space, if my space is being pressed, I can add a nested here as well. If on ground is set to true, y-axis underscore velocity decreases by 12, then I break. So this is still a case. Sensei's verdict, your code logic is fishing itself. Okay, I think I see. Let me actually see where to actually fix that part real quick. Okay, so the first mistake that I did do, I gotta add a case here. Let's go ahead and add a case. And guys, why didn't I even fix this? Okay, so let's go ahead and delete my if statement. I'm gonna go with a case here. Okay, so let's go with a case all the way here. For my case 3, if my SDL's key is something like space, then I'm gonna do something. Let's add a if statement. If a pair of parentheses, let's say if on ground is set to true, I'm gonna do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces, and then let's go with something like okay, I might go with something like my y-axis underscore velocity is gonna increase by negative 12, ending with a semicolon. Now let's add that case for my key up as well. If I am not clicking my key anymore, I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if on ground, okay, honestly, if not on ground, if that is not set to true, okay, if not set to true, then I'm going to do something. Maybe, do I even need something here? Hello, hiding, Moha, or Mo, I appreciate you joining the stream. Is your name pronounced as something like, Modre? I think it's Modre. I think Modre, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, this said, if my on ground is set to true, that's when my y-axis underscore velocity increases by negative 1. If my on ground is not set to true, okay, then I'm going to be setting my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then I got a break. I forgot the break, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and break, ending with a semicolon. And then let me go ahead and break here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and break. Okay, and then after I'm done with that, let's scroll all the way down. So I added my 3 cases here. Okay, and then I gotta add my my on ground boolean variable outside of my loop. So let's copy that from here, and let's go ahead and paste it outside of my while loop. Okay, and then this checks happen after my collision. So if circles is y-axis plus radius is less than or equal to my floor, on ground is going to be set to true. This should be greater than or equal to floor. If it's higher than or equal to my floor, on ground is going to be set to true, else it's going to be set to false. Let's go ahead and copy that, delete it from here. Let me scroll all the way down. This happens after my gravity logic. Okay, right here. Okay, that is going to be my landing. Let's go with something like landing. Alright guys, let me fix my typo real quick. There we go. So that is my landing. And this is an on ground check. So I'll add a comment that says something like on ground check. There we go. Okay, perfect. Alright, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I get my window here. Let me actually get it here so you guys can see it as well. It does fall down. If I hit space, I am jumping upwards now. Okay. Okay, I mean, I do jump upwards. It's not like it's something different. Okay, so I do bounce upwards if I go there, and I bounce this way as well. But hitting multiple jumps doesn't work. When I spam my jumps, it doesn't work. One jump works. Okay, while my button is being pushed down, that does honestly work. Okay, could it be like I did make some other mistake? Because I feel like this part is correct. Let's go ahead and copy that. Guys, I feel like there's like a slight mistake here as well. Let's paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like, let's say this feels much better, although maybe is there another mistake, question mark? I feel like I feel like there is a slight mistake, okay, because of when I spam my jump. What up guys, I might know what's the mistake here. While I was typing that, I realized I might have to remove this case from here, because this case honestly wouldn't make any sense. Let's try removing this real quick. Okay, if I had Control S to save the code and run the command, the reason I did like remove that case is because I thought that, let me get this here real quick. Okay, now if I jump, There we go. If there's like no case for me actually saying if my key is up, nothing happens. Okay, that actually works, guys. Okay, maybe I did actually figure that part out. Alright, perfect. Okay, that does actually fix it, guys. This feels like this actually looks much better. Alright, guys, I don't think there's any more errors here. Okay, let's go with something like control A, control C, copy that. Let's get some /ChatGPT back here. You're allowed to have more functions with a similar scope. Oh, I see. That actually sounds kind of cool. I do actually want to add like whatchamacallit, more function, all that stuff. That's it. Maybe once I am going over like my collision detection logic, I might actually add that as a function. Okay, so let's paste it, go with shift enter and say something like, let's say, it works, exclamation. Although I don't take credit for this question at all, exclamation dot dot dot. That said, I do want to try this with a rectangle now. Okay, guys, I honestly do want to try it with a rectangle as well. That said, whatchamacallit, I did want to try the PNGs too, but I don't feel that well today, and also I do have like some college stuff to do. So maybe after my rectangle, I might call it a day, and like next stream, I will go over PNGs too. Guys, I feel so weak for some reason. People, look at you, you fixed it. Your chat should be bowing to you right now, guys. It doesn't make sense. I like whatchamacallit, like I did get a lot of help with this question. That's it, good. Now we level up. You want rectangle, then you're about to make a rectangle, and you're not getting off stream until you do it right. You hear me? Alright, guys, this time I'm going to be actually doing it alone. Okay, I do think I know everything that goes in here, so it shouldn't be that hard to add a rectangle, because apparently rectangles are like easier than circles. So I'll go with something like control A. Let's go ahead and delete everything. Now, let me start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. Okay, and then let's go ahead and drink some water. Okay, might be kind of weak because I didn't drink water, guys. Should be hydrated. Alright, perfect. Okay, now that I'm done including IO stream, let's go ahead and include, let's say something like, okay, since I am going to be using SDL3, let's go ahead and include SDL3 and then all the header files from my SDL, so SDL.h. And then let me go ahead and create a main function that does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a pointer to an array of argv. And then let's go with the pair of curly braces. Now inside of a main function, let's add a if statement to check if my SDL, to initialize my SDL and check if it was not initialized properly at the same time. So I'm going to go with if not SDL underscore init. If my SDL was not initialized properly, I'm going to look for a specific type of SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore init underscore video. If my SDL's video section was not initialized properly, then I'm going to do something. I'll go with the pair of curly braces and then add a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to give me something like an SDL underscore init error. Okay, and then I'm going to go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'll go with SDL underscore get error with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And lastly, let's go ahead and return one saying something is wrong in this part. Check it out. Okay, once I'm done adding an if statement, let's add a comment that says something like game variables. So I'm going to be creating a few local general game variables. Maybe I do want to add these like before initializing, excuse me guys, before initializing my SDL. I think I could add it after I initialize it. Okay, so I'll go with something like game variables. For my game variables, firstly, I might need a variable for my Windows's width and height. So let's go ahead and create something like a constant integer of width, which is going to be equal to something like 800. And then I'm going to add a constant integer of height, which is going to be something like 800 as well. Maybe I change this to 1000 in that case. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, I'm going to be needing like a gravity variable as well. So I'll go with something like a floating point of gravity, which is going to be equal to something like 0.5 floating points, ending with a semicolon. Why not put variables in a structure? Honestly, because I don't have like much practice with structures. That's it. I had like just one stream of me actually learning structure. I might have to go over like another stream where I do go over structures again. Maybe that might be next stream. Okay, that's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do something like a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to something like 6.0 frames per pixels per frame, and then a floating point for y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to something like 0, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's honestly pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like floor. So I'm going to be creating my floor as well. Okay, instead of going with a whole rect for my floor, maybe I could create like just a floor variable, but I think I might actually create a floor. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore F Rex is structure. This structure consists of all the attributes for my rectangle. I am going to be setting this to something like floor. There we go. Ending with a semicolon. And then let's add a few parameters. So I'll go with something like floor dot x-axis equals to something like 500, which is the center of my window. And then something like floor dot y-axis equals to something like 780, I don't know, ending with a semicolon. And then in floor dot let's say width, which is going to be something like maybe 1050. Okay, I'll go with something like 1050, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, a floor dot height, which is going to be equal to something like 100. Okay, so this is my height of my floor. Let's go ahead and fix my typo real quick. Okay, once I'm done adding my floor, let's add a comment that actually creates my window and renderer both at the same time. So I'm going to say create window and renderer. So to create my window and renderer both at the same time, first let's go ahead and create two local variables. My first local variable is going to be a variable from my SDL underscore windows structure. This structure consists of all the attributes of my window. I'm going to be setting it to a pointer of my window local variable, which is going to be set to null PDR for the time being. That is basically a placeholder for pointers. And then let's go with something like SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk of, let's say, my renderer local variable. That is going to be set to null PDR as well, ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, let's actually use the function that does create my window and renderer both at the same time. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore, what up guys, there we go, underscore create window and a renderer function. This function creates my window and renderer both at the same time. Okay, it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title slash a caption. So I could go with something like SDL3 gravity. Okay, I'm just going to add this as like my caption for my window that is going to be set like above my window. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'm going to be needing a width and height. I do have a width variable and a height variable for my, for my windows. So I'm going to be using those, which is basically 1000 by 800. And then I'll need a flag. If you guys don't want to add a flag for my window, you guys could go with 0. But I do want to add a flag that makes my window resizable. So I could go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. This flag makes my window resizable. And then I'm going to need the memory address of my window local variable and my renderer local variable. So I'll go with the address of operator for my window and then the address of operator for my renderer as well. Okay, lastly, let's exit my or end my function with a semicolon. Now that I've created my window and my renderer, I do want to add an if statement to check if they're actually created properly. Hiding DKJ, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, so I'm going to add an if statement here. So I'll go with something like if a of parentheses. Let's say something like if not window, if my window was not created properly. Or let's say if my renderer was not created properly. I'm going to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm going to be adding a standard C error with an insertion operator. That is going to say me something like SDL underscore create a window and renderer error. There we go. This is like my create window and renderer function. I like your haircut. Honestly, guys, I feel like, I did like go with kind of a curly hairstyle and everything because usually I do like, actually blow dry to make it look really curly, but I feel like I wasn't feeling that well today, so I just took a shower and didn't even bother like blow drying my hair. That said, next up, I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore gets error function. This function actually gets me my error. So there we go. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, and then let's add another insertion operator that says something like a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, firstly, I want to exit my SDL. Do you play Clash Royale? Honestly, I've heard of it, but I've honestly never played it. Okay, that's it. I might go with something like SDL underscore quit. So I'm going to be quitting my SDL, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and return one, ending with a semicolon. Wait, you take showers? Guys, it is kind of surprising, but I do like shower almost every single day. Depends on how busy I am per day. Some days when I'm like really busy, I don't have time to take showers. That's it. I do like usually take it whenever I can because I feel it is pretty good for being hygienic. Okay, now once I'm done creating my window and my renderer, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like create rect or something like rect attributes. Okay, so for my rect attributes, I'm going to go ahead and create something like SDL underscore F rect, which is going to be having something like a local variable called rect. Now let's go with something like rect.x-axis is going to be something like 500, the center of my screen, ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis is going to be something like, I want it to be the complete top, so I might go with something like 10, ending with a semicolon. and then rect dot width, that is going to be something like 60 ending with a semicolon. Lastly, rect dot height is going to be 60 as well. So it is going to be like a square instead of like a rectangle. Okay, now that I'm done with creating my rect as well, let's add a comment that says something like main loop. So let's go ahead and create my main loop now. For my main loop, firstly, I'm going to be creating two variables. So the first Boolean variable is going to be something like is running, which is initially going to be set to true. Okay, maybe I might go with more than two variables. The second Boolean variable is going to be something like on ground to check if I'm currently on ground. I'm going to set that equal to false for the time being. And then let's go ahead and create a few buttons to like check what current button is being pressed. So I might go with something like a boolean of maybe left arrow, because I want to use the left arrow keys instead of like A's, but I might go with something like A. So if A down is going to initially be set to false because like my A is not being pushed down, and then D down is going to be set to false as well because my D down is not being currently pushed. Okay, and then lastly, let's go with something like space down, which is going to be set to false as well because my space is not being pushed down currently. Okay, after adding my booleans, let's go ahead and create a event variable as well. So I might go with something like SDL underscore events structure. This structure consists of all the SDL events. I'm going to be adding a local event variable, which is going to be consisting of all my SDL events now as well. Okay, and then after that, let's go ahead and add a while loop now. So I'm going to go with my main while loop, which is going to say something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. Let's add a comment that says something like event loop. So this is going to be a while loop inside of a while loop, basically a nested while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while, okay, let's say something like while SDL underscore poll events is function. This function basically checks for all the events that I'm currently looking for inside of my while loop, and it does require a parameter of my event variables' memory address. Once I'm done with that, let's add a if statement look for event type. So I'll go with something like if my event dot type equals to let's say something like SDL. Okay, each time you write sum that creates a rect factor, okay, that outs in a function every time you create another variable, your main loop should be factoring it into suitable structure. Honestly, I did like spend very little time learning about structures when I first started like C++. I think I like did that in like day 14 or something. You guys should like fact check, but maybe next stream or like the stream after, and once I'm done with Gravity, I might go with like learning about structures again. And then I do need to start object-oriented programming using SDL3. I did learn object-oriented programming just in like C++ generally when I first started C++. I should like work on SDL3 using that as well. That said, if my SDL underscore event underscore quit, so if my event type is quit, I'm going to do something. My is a running boolean variable is going to be set to false. So then learn. Honestly, I should like start that. Okay, the cyclomatic complexity is growing without management. Oh, I see. Okay, I'll go with something like my is a running boolean variable is going to be set to false, ending with a semicolon. Now let's exit outside of my if statement and add a few more if statements. Are you Indian? Honestly, I haven't like been to India yet. That's why I'm kind of excited to visit India. I might actually stream myself there. Okay, so I'm going to be using, should I be using case switches? Okay, I'll be using something like switches now. So I'll go with something like switch, add a pair of parentheses. Maybe I add an outer if statement first. Should I go with if statements or switches? I might go with an if statement. I'll go with something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down if my event type is key down, if my users or if my keyboard's button is currently being pushed down. Now I'm going to be using switches, so I'll check for a switch. So if my events is key, this is going to look for all keys. I'm looking for a specific type of key, okay, and then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now let's add a few cases. So if my SDL's current key is A, then I'm going to do something. My A down boolean variable is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and break as well, honestly. So, okay, so that is my case. I end that with a semicolon. Okay, this should be a case. My bad, guys. There we go. So that is my case number 1. Okay, blind leading the blind. If you're streaming program, take time to show good practices. Honestly, I do like take time, like when I do go over a concept and everything. That's it. Let's go with something like my second case. So if my SDL's key is something like D, if my D is currently being pushed down, then I'm going to do something. Let's go ahead and set my D down boolean variable to be equal to true as well. And then let's go ahead and break. Okay, once I'm done with that, now let's check for my space. So for my space, I'll go with a third case if my SDL's key is something like space. Alright guys, that should be like uppercase space. Then I'm gonna do something. I'll go with something like my SPC down boolean variable. That is gonna be set to true as well, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna break. Okay, maybe I do something if my space is pushed. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Although I do want to do something. Hold up, guys. I might go with the if statement here. Okay, I won't be setting that to be true just yet. I'm gonna set that to be true somewhere else. Did I have to do something like this? Okay, if my key type is space, let's go ahead and delete that real quick. I'm gonna go with the pair of curly braces. So if my space is currently being pushed, I'm gonna be doing something. Let's go ahead and set my SDL. Maybe I go with something like my wax underscore velocity. Your English is very good. Honestly, I appreciate you, Lermog. Is that how you pronounce your name? That said, guys, I feel like I'm way too exhausted to think this out right now. So space down, I don't think I should set my space boolean variable to be true. I don't even think I need my space boolean variable right now. I just want to increase my y-axis underscore velocity by -12. So I might actually not need this variable here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. So let's go with something like if my space is currently being pushed, I'm gonna go ahead and check something. If my event.key, I think I already added that though. Okay, so if my case is space, if my space is currently being pushed, how do you learn C++? Honestly, I did like learn using ChatGPT because like I feel like that was like really helpful when it comes to like learning the basics. I did stream myself learning that. That's it, guys. Honestly, I might go over this like whatchamacallit. I don't think I could like complete this whole code today because like my head does kind of hurt. I feel like I have a migraine right now. That said, I might actually figure this switches part out, like the event loop. Then later I could like go over gravity next stream as well. That said, let me actually think real hard, guys, where I messed up here. Okay, so if my SDL's key is space, then I'm gonna do something. Maybe I do add a space variable here. Okay, I'm gonna go with something like SPC down, that is initially going to be set to false. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to be setting that to true. So I'll go with something like space down is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then I go ahead and break. Although here's the thing, I don't want it to be set to true because like it's always set to true in that case. I want to do something if it is pressed. I want to increase my y-axis underscore velocity. Setting it to true means like it's always set to true. Okay, so I might go with something like if my case is space, I think I might add a if statement. I think I was doing it correct, guys. I'll go with something like a pair of parentheses. Okay, do you do Python? Honestly, I did like have a Python for 100-day series, but my goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general in Python. I was done with that series about 61 days ago, and I did like stream myself a lot while doing that as well. That said, I did like write a 470 lines code by the end of that series. That had like a lot of content in it, guys. Okay, that's it. I'll go with something like my rect.y-axis, or maybe not my position, my velocity. I'll go with my y-axis underscore velocity is going to increase by -12. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to set my space down to be set to true. Oh wait, hold up guys. A pair of parentheses. I'm gonna go with something like if my okay, I'm gonna go with something like if on ground. So if my on ground is set to true, okay, then I'm gonna do something. Okay, if my space is set to true and my on ground, so if my space is set to true and I'm on ground, then I'm gonna do something. Guys, finally figure this part out. Is it possible to make it call a callback function where there's key events? Honestly, that does make sense as well. We could like I could like create a separate function with like all the key events and then use it inside of my main loop. Although I do like actually want to try doing that, but before that I am like understanding the key concepts and how this stuff works. Eventually I will like go over the complexity, the complex stuff too. Okay, if my on ground is set to true, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go ahead and increase my y-axis underscore velocity, which is initially set to 0, to be equal to increase by -12. So it just jumps upwards, ending with a semicolon. There we go, guys. I took a lot of thinking to do. That's it. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this just to save time and then paste it all the way here. Now I'm gonna change my key down to be something like key up. Okay, and then just change the trues to be something like falses. I'm gonna change my true to be false. Okay, Alright, and I do need to add a break here as well. Okay, because guys, with cases, they always got out break or like it goes to the next event as well. Okay, that's actually pretty much it for this. I am going to be removing my case from here though. There we go. Okay, now that I'm done with adding my events, let's go ahead and exit outside of my event loop and fill my screen. Okay, did I exit this with a semicolon? Okay, hold up guys, I don't think I actually exited it properly. So that is my while loop. Okay, let's go ahead and exit outside my while loop right here. There we go. Oh, did I actually delete everything? Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way here, add a comment that says something like full screen. Although I feel like something small is kind of messed up here. I added my switches here. All my switches does end with a semicolon. Is my if statement. These are like separate if statements. Okay, in that case, like, where am I actually messing up? Because, like, I feel my fill screen should be set to be here. That is where my while loop ends. Okay, I did, like, add my while loop ending as well, right? Okay, hold up, guys. I feel like I'm way too exhausted to actually think right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and add something here. Okay, something does seem wrong here. If I go with tab, then I'm in a correct line. Okay, so if and then I go ahead and add my cleanup here. Let's go with something like cleanup. Okay, for cleaning up, I could go with something like SDL underscore destroy window with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my window variable ending with a semicolon. Then I'll go with SDL underscore destroy renderer. Okay, so I'm going to be destroying my renderer as well. Hold up, guys. There we go. Okay, destroy renderer with a pair of parentheses. That is going to be my renderer variable ending with a semicolon. And then let's go ahead and quit my SDL. So SDL underscore quit, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I return 0. So the reason I do know that something is wrong, because like all these stuff should be like all the way back here when it ends, but it is kind of here. So I feel like I missed adding a semicolon somewhere. I added all my variables here. I added my while is running here. Okay, that does all the way end right here. Okay, hold up, guys. My while loop doesn't. Okay, it does end here though. Okay, it actually ends here. So like my if statement, it ends here. Hold up, guys. Let me actually try figuring this part out real quick. I feel like it is like a silly mistake. Okay, so inside of my event loop is something. There we go. Everything should be indented backwards. So I add a if statement right here. These are my game variables. Okay, that is my floor. That is my create window. That is that. And then I add a if statement here. I create my rectangles attributes. My main loop. I add a few variables. And then my while loop. Now, in my event while loop, it is going pretty much correct here. If statement starts there. It ends here as well. It does have a break. This is for my case. That is for my events. I think it's actually correct. Never mind, guys. I actually think it is correct. Also, something doesn't feel that correct, honestly. Maybe I might actually figure this out next stream, because guys, I am kind of exhausted this stream. Okay, that said, I do want to actually, give some /ChatGPT here, because guys, I feel like I was initially not feeling well today when I woke up. Okay, that said, let me say something like, say, I did not add the rectangle gravity, okay, because I feel like I'm not feeling that well. Okay, that said, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers before I end the stream, question mark? Because guys, honestly, I feel like I could like stay there and try figuring the question out, but I feel like I wouldn't like get like really far, because like I can't think properly right now. That's it, we come here right now. You're not feeling well, stream, listen up. He's been working hard, he's been learning, he's still pushing through like a dab soldier. When a human starts typing the keywords is melting, that's not lazy, that's called exhaustion. Honestly, guys, that does make sense, because like after I'm done streaming, I do go over my college stuff as well. That's it. So chat, your Sutsai is commanding you all to hear this. Take care of your body, or your code, okay, or your code will take revenge on you. Brain runs hot, just like CPU. When they overheat, everything glitches. He pushed through anyways. That's discipline. But every warrior rests or the collapse mid-battle. But like, if you end the stream right now, it does not make this a strategy. Okay, that said, let me actually go to my main camera right there. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for this stream. That's it. I did want to stream for a long run. I couldn't even like complete this topic. maybe next stream I am going to be going over gravity again, and eventually I will be going over structures as well. That's it. If you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like helps my algorithm sharing, makes me smile, and subscribing is like a cherry on top. And guys, I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Trovo, and I will start multi-streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well if I did meet the followers requirements. If you guys do enjoy my content, make sure to follow me there. The link will be in the description. And also join the Discord server. That's where I usually tell you guys when I upload, and I mention everyone when I upload. That's the link is in the description as well. Okay, is it possible to call the function? Guys, I'm pretty sure I did get a comment. Hold up, guys. Let me actually check that real quick. Okay, maybe I was just imagining stuff. Okay, that's it. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.